Well, check it out, y'all. We got what you need. We're all living in apartments, condos, vans. Well, dude, even you can have a studio in a box. Yes, we can help you with that right here at Blind Knowledge. We work on your budget and we figure out your measurements. We'll get you the best sound for the best price. Let me know, 877-237-1143 or at blindknowledge.com. Yep.
Specters all around me, living in stark, blazing the dark. One by one, pictures gather around me. Where those moonflowers used to rust no more. Specters gather around here, living in stark, blazing the dark. Night by night, stare into the black where moonflowers used to grow.
Welcome back once again to Paranormal, the New Normal. I'm your host, as always, Jeremy, here trying to make the world a little more normal. It's going to happen tonight. Oh, fuck. We're having fun tonight. It ain't going to happen tonight. That's for damn sure. We're getting weird in a podcast way, just to clarify. Really, Moose, you're pooping right while I'm doing a podcast? Bad dog. But anyway, folks, my guest tonight, I am very proud to announce I was on their show last night. You'll hear that at some point. But I am very proud to announce that I have Logan and Nicole from Generation X Paranormal Podcast. Almost lost it there for a second. And I am very happy to have them on my show because we get to talk about my stuff last night, my experiences, my beliefs, and all that. But tonight I get to hear theirs, and that's even more fun for me because I like asking questions more than I like answering them. So. Oh, dude, really, Moose?
You said you were going to get weird and wild. I mean, it doesn't get much more wild than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right ass fucking kibble poop. But yes, we are back here. And well, folks, if you want to hear part one, let's listen to their episode. I'm going to try to release this one around the same day as theirs comes out, so we'll make it work. But first things first, welcome to the show, guys.
Thank
How
you.
you doing tonight? Even though we talked last night, how you doing tonight?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us. We're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Well, to start this off the fun way,
Okay.
and I'll ask Nicole this first question first, because ladies first and all that.
Okay.
What got you into the paranormal? Simplest of questions with the hardest of answers.
What got me into the paranormal? I guess I've always kind of been into it. I had experiences when I was a little kid. We lived in a confirmed haunted house as well when I was little.
Nice.
Saw things, heard things. My parents heard things. And so I've always kind of been into it. As far as doing stuff like this, we've just started the podcast, but we've always been, since we got married, visiting haunted hotels and doing those types of experiences. But I've always kind of been into it. Once you have an experience like that, it never really goes away.
Yep.
I wish I could. Oh, yeah, true. It's true. I was going to say, I wish I could comprehend that, but I kind of do. So, it is what it is.
Yep.
And how about you, Logan? Any special reason you're in the paranormal, or just one of those things that fascinate you, like me and Nicole? Wow, I might fucking that up a bit.
You're good.
Wow, that is a loaded question. What got me into the paranormal? Well, I mean, honestly, I've always kind of had what may say an affinity for the paranormal. I definitely grew up with a family that was very open about it. My grandmother, she practiced she was what they call a curandera, which means basically she kind of did a lot of curing, a lot of magic kind of things like that. So I just kind of went with that and got into it. And for the most part of my life, I used to let it all scare me, so I would kind of shut it out. But as I got older, I realized it was much more fun. And I think what kind of got us into the podcast, and by the way, I'm the one that started it. I kind of forced her into it.
Yes, he did.
but about a year ago, no, actually it's 2 years ago now, I had a physical injury. I had a brain bleed, and it was pretty touch and go. And I think after that, I just said, you know what? let's just do something fun for a change, not, just not sit here and wait to die. So we decided to do something cool. So we
Mhm.
started this podcast, and we've always been in the paranormal. In fact, one of the very first things, I don't know if she remembers this or not. I don't remember who bought it for who, but
You bought it for me.
yeah, that's right. I bought it for her.
Mhm.
I bought her the Unsolved Mysteries DVD collection of ghosts. So yeah, that kind of kicked everything off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, sorry. One, I'm sorry to hear about the condition because that's horrible. I would.
Okay, thanks.
I'd hate to have that. I'd hate for anybody I know to have that. So I gotta say I'm sorry about that. But
Well, I
and,
appreciate it.
and yeah, it seems like we all just had that curiosity, like Fox Mulder said, we want to believe.
Yes.
Mhm.
Little Mulder.
Mm. Yes, David Duchovny's the fucking man. But
Yeah, he's pretty awesome.
I love him. Everything he's ever done. I fucking love. But all right, well, the next question is a little more fun, and we'll go back to Nicole because I'm a gentleman.
Okay.
What experiences have you had? And I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna get a cryptid experience out of you two, but if I do, I'll be pleasantly surprised.
No, I can't say that I have any cryptid.
Mhm.
I've got a lot of experiences. So, how much time do you have? But they all relate to like ghost spirits in that nature.
All right. Well, in cases like this, what I do is give us the experience that sticks out the most to you.
Well, I talked about one on the other show, so we'll pick a new one.
Okay.
Probably the one when we were in North Carolina. That was a big one. So we went on this trip, and it's been what 5 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, probably.
We flew to Savannah, Georgia, and then we rented a car and drove all the way up the coast. So we hit South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia.
Yeah.
And we were staying in Airbnbs all the way up.
Yeah.
So in this one particular one in North Carolina, we stopped. It was just for the night, and it happened to be like this person's home, but like kind of like like a shed turned Airbnb on their property, basically. A nicer version, let's put it that way. And everything was fine when we first got there. We kind of unpacked. We were both exhausted from the day and driving. But I remember walking into the bedroom area just feeling off. But we were like, we're gonna go to bed, right?
Yeah.
And it was what, like a queen? I think it was a queen size
God,
bed.
was it that even that big? It felt smaller.
It felt smaller. It might have been a fuller queen, but it was like the old time wooden antique type bed with the headboard and the footboard.
Mhm.
And so we went to bed, and I was on. So if you're laying down, I was on the right side, and it was kind of put in the room in a catty corner.
Yep.
Sticking out from the corner, and I just remember feeling as we were falling asleep, like I did not want to turn to my right side because I felt like if I did, I was going to see something there. And it was just like maybe a 2-foot space. So I just kept myself turned to the left, tried to go off to sleep, but I just felt this heavy presence there. And I remember waking up first and having to use the restroom, and the bathroom was like across the room. So I remember like, I'm not going to step off the right side of the bed and walk around. So I crawled to the end of the bed and hopped over the footboard.
I remember this
because it was so strong. I was just really creeped out. And so after that, I got back into bed, fell asleep. And when I fell asleep, I had a dream of this older gentleman with the long beard, just kind of in a scowl, and he was like a fisherman. Like that was what I got from the dream. And I woke up, and then I remember saying to you, I don't remember who said what first. I just remember telling you about it or something.
You did first, I think.
Yeah. And then you said, I'll let you say this part.
So what my experience was, basically I felt somebody kind of over my head, kind of in the caddy corner part of it in the back, kind of doing that whole broken neck lady kind of stare right out over you. And I heard get out. Just like in Amityville Horror. And yeah, that scared the shit out of me.
So he tells me this, and I'm like, okay, we weren't planning on staying anyway. I'm like, we
No.
just need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are not wanted in this space. And so as we're getting ready to leave, we're packing the car. I came back in for one more thing. And as we're walking out the door, and I hadn't noticed it the night before because we were just tired and wanted to go to bed. By the door on the left-hand side was this probably 8x10 picture frame. But inside that 8x10 picture frame were these tiny, tiny little pictures, maybe like 2 inches by 3 inches of all these. So I like walked up closer, looked at the picture, and it was the guy from my dream.
Yeah.
And he was a fisherman.
Yep.
And the only thing I can think is the people, and we had met them the night before.
Mhm.
It was probably one of their fathers lived out there on their property, and he did not want us there.
No.
But I remember seeing that picture, and like immediately I knew that's who it was. That really freaked me out. That's one of the biggest ones in my mind.
See, that initial feeling you had, that's why I don't like, in my own house, as we covered last night, I do not like to sleep with facing the door because our bedroom door is open, of course, because we have kids, and you gotta leave it open because God forbid they need something. Like my son waking me up at 3 a.m. this morning because his sister was coughing and he wanted me to get up, and so I mean, but it was not fun. But so I don't like facing the door when I'm sleeping because I am like, we have a coat rack right outside our bedroom door on the wall, and all the coats. If I have my glasses off at night, like I'm blind without my glasses, and like the coat rack looks a little menacing without my glasses on at night.
Yeah,
like all the coats, all the big coats just hanging there, just look like somebody standing there. And like I woke up in the middle of the night, like literally jumped back, grabbed my cell phone, turned the flashlight on, and I'm like, it's a coat. Like it's just Attack of the Coats. But I mean, it's just I don't know. I have to face my wife because I can't face the freaking door because it drives me nuts. Like so, only if I'm like already asleep and I turn over my sleep, then that's one thing. But like falling asleep, no, that's a big no. I mean,
and I think a lot of people don't recognize that feeling, but now every time I feel it, I know what it is because I felt it when I was a kid. And so anytime I enter a space, I already know if something's there because I can feel it. I know that feeling. So when we walked into that bedroom, I already knew it. I tried to convince myself there wasn't, but that's the first time ever I've pictured a face in my dream and then seen it.
Yeah, when you walked in,
that was weird.
It felt like somebody put a wet, heavy blanket over you.
I think he probably passed away there.
Yeah.
Or just that was his bed and they just left everything the way it was and started renting it out. And that, I don't blame him. He's probably really ticked that people are in his space.
Sure.
I mean, if it was his bed, he's probably like, well, I know what this young couple's gonna do in my bed tonight. Hell no. We're getting the fuck out of here.
Night. We were exhausted.
We were like, I'm going to sleep. But you could feel like eyes on you the entire night. It was very unsettling.
Yeah.
That's when you go to the store, pick up a couple bottles of wine and be like, all right, we're going to do this tonight.
There were no stores, by the way. There was like, no, we had to go to like a gas station just to get
something to eat,
something frozen to fix for dinner. Cause it was a very outskirts area.
Rural.
Yeah.
Very rural.
And what state was that in?
It was in North Carolina. I cannot remember the name of the town.
North Carolina being that rural. I didn't realize even,
Interesting. They got a ton of rural cities out there.
They do.
Oh yeah.
And it was right next to the river, one of the rivers, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember
the name of it because it was just a pit stop. It wasn't one of our main destinations, so I can't even remember the name of the town.
Well, we were about to drive to the ferry to get over to
the Outer Banks.
Yeah, the Outer Banks. So it wasn't too far away from that area, but it was extremely rural.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I've driven from New York to Florida before, and we went through North Carolina, and I think we even stayed. No, we stayed in North Carolina at my dad's high school friend's house. And I mean, there's just like, I didn't see anything that was rural there. But I think it was either in North Carolina or Virginia. We got like the best fucking soul food I ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Got some good
They've
food.
got great food out there.
Like, it literally was like, from the outside of this place, I didn't want to eat there. Like, from looking at the outside, I was like, I really don't want to eat the food here. And then I go inside.
Yeah, sometimes those are the best.
Those are the best.
Yeah.
You go inside and it's just like a buffet style like serving thing. Like it
Mhm.
looks like a freaking high school cafeteria almost. And I walk up, I'm like, ooh, chicken fried livers. Ooh, collard greens. All right, we're eating here. Let's give me some of those. Give me some of those. Give me some sweet potatoes, and we're good. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
It's like that place we went to in Memphis. Do you remember?
Which one?
That's right across from the hotel where
Oh,
Martin Luther
yeah.
King Jr. got shot. But it was like right across the tracks, and I was like, "Are we sure we want to go in there?" But all the locals said it's the best
The
place,
best barbecue.
and that food was
Yeah.
amazing.
That
But
was
yeah,
pretty amazing.
those hole in the wall places are usually the best.
Yeah.
they are. It's just they're not the ones I recommended on Google. Like you just have to come across
No.
them. And they're the
Mhm.
ones you find at like 1 a.m. that are open still.
Yeah.
Like, because that's
I was
literally
in-
what it was.
I was in
That's
St.
really what it
Charles,
was.
Louisiana, and I remember we were looking for somewhere to eat, and I love crab and basically any shellfish, really. And we were working at this bank, and I asked one of the people there, I said, where's a good place to get crab? And they said, okay, I'm going to tell you this place, but if you look at it, you're not going to want to eat there. I said, okay. He's like, but just trust me. So I said, all right, fair enough. So we get in this car, we drive over there, and I'm not kidding you, it was a strip mall. And I'm not telling you it was one of those nice strip malls, like, really well done, or no, it was a freaking strip mall that you're like, I'm pretty sure this is where people come to have meetings to be serial killers at, and stuff like that. And there was this one door, and it said crab. That's literally all. There was no name of the restaurant, nothing, but people were piling in this freaking place. And the guy I was with, I'm like, hey, dude, you want to give us a shot? He's like, I guess. So we go in there, and it is wall to wall packed, and they are giving out, this amazing crab. And I remember for like $20, it was, there's no way I could finish it. It was probably the best freaking crab I've had. That wasn't, because blue crab's basically the most that you're going to get down there. But that was probably some of the best non-Alaskan crab I've ever had. It was freaking amazing.
Well, you're talking to a fan of soft shell crabs. So
there you go.
This one restaurant in the town I grew up in May, and then again in the fall, they would have soft shell crabs, and actually they'd have them all summer because he would buy a shitload and freeze them. But
yeah,
soft shell crabs sauteed in like garlic and butter and put on top of bread.
Sounds good.
That is a foodgasm. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Pure foodgasm.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I haven't had them since I moved out of New York in 6 years. No, it's been fucking 8 years. Holy shit.
It's a long time.
I gotta go to New York. Fuck.
Yeah.
Time passes fast.
Yes, it does.
This spring, I gotta go to New York. My grandma would probably love it, but
yeah,
I gotta go to New York. So, Logan, what's a paranormal experience you had either before you met Nicole or by yourself? Kind of curious.
Okay, so this is where I'm gonna have to figure it out, because I've had a lot of them. I would probably
I'll make me jealous.
Well, we may have talked about this a little bit on our show, but I'm kind of coming to terms with the possibility of having some sensitivity. It's something I've been fighting for a long time, but I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Anyway, long story short, I seem to be able to spot things that I don't think some other people can. But in this particular incident, it wasn't. And this is no problem, because Nicole and I know that we've dated people before we got married. But I was on a date with this girl, and then there was another couple in the back of the car, and we're driving, and this is in San Antonio. Excuse me. We were at we just come back from meeting or something. I don't know, whatever you do. And as we're driving, I see something go from left to right across the freeway, and it looked like, I always want to say it looked like a hefty bag turned inside out. Like, it wasn't shiny, but it looked like something just kind of doing this thing across the freeway, and it totally blacked everything out. Like, I could not see lights. It basically cut the lights out. So I know for a fact it was solid as it moved across from left to right. Now, mind you, I'm doing 60 plus miles an hour, but yet at that particular time, it felt like I was doing 2, because it just moved in slow motion. And I remember just thinking to myself, what in the hell is that? And no kidding, as soon as it took off across and left the freeway, the girl I was with looked at me and she goes, I know you saw that, right? I'm like, yeah, I saw that. And then the people behind us were like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, I don't know, but I am so glad the rest of you saw that. It looked like a full formed shadow that went across from one spot to another. Now, where we were in San Antonio, if you've ever been there, they built the city all around this town, but some of the older parts of that town are still there, like the Alamo, and we were not that far from it. So in my mind, to me, and I think when we all talked about it in the car, it was like, could that have actually like just been a ghost of somebody from the Alamo? Because it was so close. If you ever in San Antonio and you get off the freeway, you will almost run right into the Alamo on this certain freeway. And I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, that was something else. That the reason I like bringing that one up is it wasn't just me. That was 3 other people that corroborated it right that second. And it was every bit of a shadow person or thing. Because I don't know that I saw legs.
Well, funny you say that, because that's not the first experience I've heard of a shadow person running across the road.
Yeah.
On Monsters Among Us podcast, they actually had a caller in on Route 2 in Massachusetts, about 5 minutes that way, and then about 5-10 minutes east.
Yeah.
On Route 2, someone actually reported by Fitchburg, Massachusetts, seeing a shadow person run across a road behind them in the rearview mirror.
Ugh.
So
yeah,
I'm glad I've never seen anything driving.
It was
That
scary,
would scare
man.
me.
I'm not kidding.
I mean, well, actually, let's talk about that. Since we've brought it up, I want to hear you guys' theories. What do you think shadow people are?
I don't
Because
know.
I have my own theory. I'll get into in a minute, but I want to hear what you guys think.
In my opinion, this is just mine. Nicole's got her own, I'm sure, but in my personal opinion, I think a shadow figure is residual. I don't think it's something that is conscious of what it's doing, so it may not always have physical form. So sometimes when it's going through its loop, it can't always manifest enough power to form a full physical form. So sometimes I think it draws energy enough to at least be a shadow person or a shadow so that it can do its loop. And then sometimes it has more and it can actually be full form. Now that's just my dumb opinion, but that's just kind of how I feel about it.
I mean, I agree mostly with that, but I also think there's probably situations where it's not just residual. But other than that, I don't really know that there's anything else in my mind that I think it could be.
Yeah.
Besides spirit.
Right.
Well, I'll first say a theory that I've been told a million times.
Okay.
And then I'll say my theory. The theory I've heard a million times is that they're ultra terrestrial, which means they're from other dimensions. And they're basically like layovers, kind of, that they don't even realize they're in another dimension at that point. They just are they literally are shadows from another dimension that are they're there. They can't cause harm. They can't do anything, but they're there. I've also been told by, I forget his name, but he's a very famous, he does Phantoms and Monsters Radio. Don Strickler? Am I getting that right? I don't know. But he was a guest on my show way back in the beginning, and he does Phantoms and Monsters Radio. It was a podcast, and now he does like a live radio show. He's helped people who've dealt with them, and he says they're very negative entities who feed off people's happiness. Feed off taking people's happiness and making people negative. He says is what they feed off of. And he's worked with families for years to get rid of them. So, but
I mean,
Lon
those are
Strickler.
both.
I'm sorry, that's his name, Lon Strickler. Sorry, Lon. But if you listen.
I mean, that's the first time I've heard that theory. Or not about the dimension thing,
Yeah.
but we're still learning a lot about
yeah.
that stuff. We haven't gotten as far deep into it as you have of talking to people. I mean, our minds have already been blown these first 9 months of doing this,
for sure,
that we haven't gotten even that far into it yet. But I mean, that's a very interesting thought.
Yeah.
Well, and here's my theory. Now take it as you will, but my theory is spirits go through evolution just like humans do.
Yeah.
They start off as just mist or fog. They have no way of controlling their shape. They then progress into shadow people because they can make the shape of a human because they mastered their abilities so far, but they can't, and there's no features. They can just master the shape of a human, and that's why they're shadow people. And then, in my theory, their final Pokemon evolution is a full figured embodiment, like Ghostbusters would say.
I mean, that's a great theory.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard something to the effect before about it takes them a long time to learn how to do certain things from
Well-
like different psychics and mediums. So
Mhm.
It's funny that book series I was mentioning to you guys that Brandy Alexander wrote on your show. She in her stories, the main character lives with 3 ghosts: the ghost of his brother, and then 2 other ghosts he picked up along the way. And a lot of a main plot of the book is about them learning to use different abilities, such as controlling electronics, and actually in the second book that's coming out, they learn a way to enhance their abilities greatly through the help of other beings. But I'm not going to ruin her book for her. So,
yeah.
but I mean, so it's funny that like she puts that in a book, and it's based on what she's researched, I'm sure, because
Right.
Right.
we all know it's been hypothesized that ghosts learn to do more the longer they're around, of course. So
Sure.
Mhm.
that's why if you go to paranormal investigation, the ghost isn't listening to anything you fucking say to do. Then either they're just assholes or it's a new ghost.
Yeah.
But if they do everything you ask them to do, like play with meters and stuff, that they have been there for a long time and they learned how to control their abilities by that point. They had to have. Otherwise, how the hell are they making an EKG meter go to red if they're
Right.
unless they're listening to you and able to comprehend what you're telling them to do and actually able to do it? Like it's just,
I totally agree with that. And I always think about when I watch that this whole discussion about learning how to do stuff. It goes back to the Ghost movie with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
You remember?
It's with the
Like he has to go
penny
down
or
to the
whatever.
subway to learn
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
push stuff. But
I
yeah, I
remember
mean,
that.
yeah, they have to learn. I mean, you would assume that they're not just going to know it.
No, I mean,
You know?
we learn when we're born, so why
Mhm.
couldn't it go the same way?
Mhm.
exactly. Because but that kind of also contemplates the whole theory I have, well, that many people have. It contradicts it. The theory that when we die, our spirits go to this. Well, actually, I guess it doesn't contradict it, because I guess there would be those that are still stuck on Earth for some reason, but most spirits go back up into another dimension when basically what I call the alien DMV to await another body to go into if they didn't complete their goal.
Mhm. Like a reincarnation
Yeah.
type situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Reincarnation type
Mhm.
situation. And
Mhm.
the alien spirits basically like either you do what you're supposed to, either you learn what you're supposed to learn in that life, or you're repeating that life for possibly getting worse if you fucked up that bad. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you believe in reincarnation of spirits, go into animals and rocks and whatnot. But
True.
that's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother level.
Yeah, that is a whole
Yeah,
nother
that is
level.
that is a deep one there.
Yeah, like coming back as animals and trees, and I'd be okay being a tree.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Now, I've been thinking about this all day, and I have to ask you, Logan, because you said last night that you have a new theory about our furry, hairy, Sasquatchian friends, and I'm kind of dying to hear it.
So, the theory that we've both actually been thinking about, or that we've come to
Talked about.
talk
at least,
about,
Yeah.
and we've heard this from a couple of different people that we've spoken to, is that perhaps they are actual, for lack of better words, alien beings inhabiting that so that they can move around. That's part of their, I guess, camouflage, for lack of better words.
Mhm.
And they are interdimensional. They're not just stuck in our dimension, which is why why we have such a difficult time being able to see them all the time. So they can move interdimensionally
Or find them.
or find
Period.
them. Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the theory that I've been sort of contemplating, and it was given to us by a good friend of ours, and I trust his knowledge in it. It's not, trust me, when you do a show, and I'm sure you understand, when you do a show on the paranormal, I try not to ever etch anything in stone. I think everything, if you do that, then you're pretty much in trouble.
Mhm.
Everything needs to stay a moving target. Things need to be fluid, because every once in a while things will change and turn you on a dime. But I'm interested in that because it does make some sense. And for us, we always maintain, and especially with our audience, we're very middle of the road. We never try to force perspective on anyone. It's always, hey, here's some of the information that we've got.
Mhm.
Here's what some of our guests are telling us. You guys are more than smart enough to decide on your own, but this is where we are. And we're very, very, very well based in kind of middle of the road kind of mentality. But every once in a while, someone like that will tell you something, and you're
Throw
like,
you for a loop.
yeah, the meme from Adult Swim, it just blows your mind. That's kind of where we're at a few different times. So, but yeah, that's kind of the working theory that we've been kind of at least embracing a little bit.
And when it comes to that, just Sasquatch, but then you start to question almost every cryptid. Is
Mhm.
every cryptid moving around that way? That's why we can't find them.
Right?
And so you just start going down this immense rabbit hole, like
Yeah.
trying to figure that out.
Exactly. And I mean, it comes, oh, okay. The fact that Bigfoot is ultra terrestrial, I've heard that before. I am not a huge fan of that theory per se. If everything's ultra terrestrial, then it kind of just ruins the magic of cryptids.
Sure.
Right.
Kind of. I mean, I was always for a long time a believer of the Gigantopithecus like theory that they were just left behind and that humans killed most of them off back in the cave era, but then some of them survived and learned like basically that humans over here, we're going over this way and just fuck off. Like,
Mhm.
but my person, okay, I haven't said this on my show in a long time, so this is a theory I put together when I first started my show, and based on what people told me, and I kind of combined elements of so many different conspiracies and cryptids into this. But bear with me, if you will, because I want to see looks in your faces when I say this. But
Okay.
so imagine, if you will, Earth is a prison planet of sorts. Humans are prisoners. We were brought here from another planet because we were unruly assholes on that planet too. And that's why, one, we have Bigfoot and Sasquatches all around the world. They are prison guards. They were another alien species that were deemed too dangerous for space. Because, I mean, Marvel Comics is this whole thing where, like there's representatives from each species of major alien species, and they deem that, like, Earth is too much of a dirtball planet to, like, deal with. So they basically made a promise to leave Earth alone as I watch my female dog hunt my male dog.
Hey, he's got a job to do.
But
He's a working
So-
man right now.
so Bigfoots are prison guards basically, and that's also why we have UFO sightings, because they are the wardens. They're just the wardens that are, or the wardens basically. They're basically wardens, and each UFOs like are just guarding different sections of Earth, and they're watching over the planet. I mean, this could explain dogmen if they were also just an unruly alien species that got put here. It could explain a lot of cryptids. It could explain sea monsters and everything else as well, if we really want to go that far. And you may ask, well, where do all these things on Earth live? Well, that's where the hollow Earth theory comes into play. And that's where they all live, is in the hollow Earth, because another thing Lon Strickler told me is that he's investigated reports of dragons coming out of caves in Pennsylvania.
Really?
And mines mainly, like mines, because in lore, dragons always like gold and shiny things. So
Right.
why wouldn't they want to go live in a mine where there's a lot of gold and a lot of shiny things? So I
Interesting.
mean, it would explain a lot of different creatures we have on Earth, and that's kind of my mind-blowing theory. I've seen people I really have been laughed at for it on this show, and I literally have had people sit there like with their mouths open, like, that makes so much fucking sense.
Yeah, that is an interesting theory. I'll be honest with you. I don't know that I embrace that yet. It's just
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect. I'm not saying there's any proof of it, but
sure.
Right.
it's just it's a way to explain a lot in a few
Mhm.
sentences. That's basically what it is. And why wouldn't this be? I mean, we've been told that the Anunnaki, the Palladians, and all
Yeah.
these and reptilians, all these species were on Earth before we even became a thing. So
Mhm.
either they created us or we came from somewhere else and we're slaves.
Yeah, I mean I've heard all those theories, and some of them are very
They're interesting.
they're interesting and profound. I mean, some of them
Mhm.
have some basic and facts and things like that. But my thing is kind of what I was getting back to about fluidity, as far as being able to understand and not be locked in any one thing. I think the whole reason why, number one, we have a show, and I'd imagine you do too, and why paranormal is such a gripping topic, is because it's ever evolving. It's not always going to be the same, and it is so much more fun looking for the truth than finding the truth, because the very moment you find something out and it's true, it is no longer paranormal, and then it's now the new normal, like the other part of your show's name.
Exactly. That's the
Do you like how
point.
do you like how I Tarantino'd that a little bit?
I mean, I prefer if you did a little freaking shamalama ding dong with it and say that's a twist. But I mean, personally, I mean, I don't know. And just so you know, that theory also goes into Antarctica, and the reason that no humans are allowed there unless the government's given permission is because Antarctica is not ice. It's maybe on the outside it's ice, but in the inside, I kind of buy that Marvel Comics was right, and there's like a Savage Land like place down there where dinosaurs could still exist, and all these creatures we don't even know about could still exist. I mean, it would make sense. It would bind the hollow earth because that's how they get back and forth from there to other parts of the earth. And I mean, the Native Americans used to go through the earth on these caves, on these spiritual journeys, and they would walk from one end of they would walk from the top of the eastern coast to the bottom of the eastern coast through these caves.
Mhm.
No other human being has ever done it or is able to do it. It would take, if they wanted to, it would take years to set up because they'd have to lay relay stations in the caves every so often, and who knows what's going to get your fucking stores until you get there. So it'd be a dangerous task to take, but there's got to be, there wouldn't be all these cave systems and all these disappearances around the cave systems if something wasn't happening.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not the first time I've heard stuff like that.
Mm-mm.
Especially like the Hopi natives.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mhm.
talk about living underground.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
I
that
mean,
that in itself isn't so. Being half native, I can tell you that you know, utilizing the earth for protection and anything at all, that's something that indigenous people have done, and that there's nothing, obviously there's nothing paranormal about that. You see where even just the Hopi and some of the natives would actually carve their homes into the actual
cliffs.
mountains and the
Mhm.
cliffs. So for them to utilize a cave system makes perfect sense. So that particular part, yeah, I definitely get that. I just don't know. Yeah, when it comes to some of the hollow earth theories that you're talking about, it is still something that I'm
Mm.
still trying to understand and kind of wrap
Yeah.
my head around, as far as whether or not or what I feel about that, for lack of better words.
Yeah,
well,
I'd have to agree.
what made me a believer in it for the most part, if you haven't seen it yet, is the Missing 411 documentaries.
I don't
You
think
know
I know
about
that
that?
one.
I don't think I do either.
It was on Amazon Prime for free years ago. I don't know if it still is, but there's a series of documentaries about the Missing 411, and it's basically people who all disappear in the wilderness. They go hunting, they go hiking, and they just are never seen again. And no trace of any foul play or anything, just pure disappear off the face of the fucking earth.
Hmm.
And there's a similar story about it's a guy somewhere. He was in the Midwest United States hiking in the woods or something, and then bam, 7 years later he shows up on a beach in the East Coast. No one's seen him in that time,
Hmm.
and he has no recollection of how he got there. They did all these tests on him, and it just seems like he literally just fell asleep in the Midwest and woke up in the East Coast 7 years later.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
There was something else that sounds familiar. I was out in Sedona for a while earlier this year, and we took one of those Jeep rides, and the lady was talking about how she had a friend that went out there in the desert, and she came back like several weeks later and couldn't even remember what had happened to her.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So things like that happen, but I don't know an explanation. Like I can't think of
I
an
mean,
explanation for that.
Yeah. I mean, you also hear of times where, if you prescribe to the theory that people are abducted, there's also that too. So, although I'll be
Yeah.
honest, I don't know that I've ever heard one 7 years. That's
No,
a pretty
that's
long,
a long
amount of
time. I mean, a lot of the time it goes back to like the alien abductions. Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
I
'cause we
mean,
know about a ton of those stories.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's someone I'm closely related to. They don't like me naming who they are, but they have been abducted by aliens multiple times throughout their lives, they believe, and
Hmm.
they always wake up in their bed the next morning, but
Right.
they feel like they didn't sleep all night,
Yeah.
and their cameras have caught some weird things outside their bedroom windows before that happened, and the camera goes static.
Hmm.
It was actually the camera caught a huge black shadow-like figure outside the window, and then as soon as it got close to the window, the whole camera went staticky, and when it turned on again, it was a couple hours later.
Wow.
And they were back in bed at that point. So,
That's
but they also feel like they didn't sleep all night, which,
Mhm.
as I've said before on this show, anybody who feels like you are being abducted, this is something I heard from Derek Hayes. I forget where he heard it from, but if you feel like you're being abducted, turn your pajamas inside out, or wherever you're sleeping in, turn it inside out before you go to sleep. And if you wake up and they're the right side out, then there's your proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That or you're one restless sleeper.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, this does not apply if you sleepwalk in any way or if
Right.
you
Yeah.
do any of those type of things. But I mean, no matter how restless a sleeper you are, you're not taking your clothes off and then putting them back on. You may be taking your clothes. You may take your clothes
Yeah.
off. I mean, who doesn't like to have a good time? But you ain't putting them back on if you're asleep. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Man, I'd hate to think what advice you have for people that are nude when they sleep. How do you figure that part out?
If you sleep nude, you must not have children, and two, you're basically giving an open invitation for alien anal probes. So, yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I am a full believer in extraterrestrials. I have been, like I told you last night, before the government ever said anything. I've been a huge believer since I was a kid in them, and
the very scientific part of my brain. See, my full-time job that I wish I was a full-time paranormal podcaster, but that
Don't
luck
we
hasn't
all?
fallen.
Don't-
That luck hasn't
don't we all?
fallen on my lap just yet. But in my actual day-to-day 9 to 5, I have a job which requires me to be extraordinarily analytical, and it requires me to be very scientific, mathematical. So there's one I kind of live. I feel sometimes I'm a little bit like Harvey Dent. I feel like I've got one side of me that's whacked the F out, and the other part of me that's the lawyer. The part of me that has to be analytical.
So basically, you're two-faced.
Right. I'm two-faced.
Yep.
And the two-faced side of me that says, or the lawyer part of me that goes from just a scientific mathematical reasoning. There are way too many stars. There are way too many depth out there.
Mhm.
If you are in the feeling that you're alone, that we're alone in this universe, then it's just not something that mathematically could even be accurate. At some particular point, you're bound to find some other type of life form, whether it's humanoid or all those sort of things. I don't know. That's the other part of me that wants to get involved. But
Mhm.
mathematically, just statistically alone, it is almost an impossibility, knowing what building blocks exist out in outer space, to know that this was not just an accident. And the other part of me is I also have some faith issues as well. But I'm a grip with a lot of different things, but that particular part of me says mathematically it's impossible for it not to happen. Then of course the other side of me that's whacked the heck out, who has the funky hair, tells me that that of course there's aliens. They come all the time. You've seen them. I've certainly seen UFOs. I used to live in Arizona. That's kind of where I was pretty much born and raised, except for through high school I lived in San Diego. But It is entirely a very common thing to look up and see things that you cannot explain. In an Arizona sky, it is so vast, and there's no light pollution in certain areas that you can actually. Now, I don't know if it's just your mind thinking it, but you've done this,
Yeah.
where you can almost see the curvature of the earth in the sky at night.
Mm-hmm.
That's how black it is and how clear it is. And you see things out there, and the one analytical part of my mind that goes, okay, that is along our ecliptic plane, so that's definitely a satellite. And then there's this other thing that comes the other way, and you're like, yep, don't know what that is.
Yeah, and you can actually see the stars twinkling.
Yeah.
They look like they're wiggling.
Yeah, it's
Well,
pretty amazing.
I mean, I kind of live in an area like that too, where like if I go to my backyard on a clear night, I can see every star in the fucking sky. But
Mhm.
and also I can see, and other people I know I've seen some things in the sky around us that are not explainable. But
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. I've heard rumors that the mountain we live on has some kind of fuel they use for their ships inside of it, so they basically are beaming it up and siphoning it and then going on wherever the hell they're going. But
I think I know where you live. I won't say.
well, I already said it's in Massachusetts, so but
Yeah, I
Right.
think I do too, but I won't say it either.
Mhm.
we can talk about that after the show's over.
Yep,
Yeah.
I mean,
No problem.
I mean, okay, my listeners know I live in Gardner, Massachusetts. My listeners
Okay.
know that.
I was gonna guess like Worcester area.
Yeah, basically 45 minutes away from Worcester. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
45 minutes, basically west of Worcester, but
Okay.
almost exactly. But so yeah, I mean, it's. Wait, I'm kind of curious. How do you know that? Because I haven't heard too many people that have known this.
We've studied the Boston area pretty well, especially
Okay,
kind of the Worcester area.
before you do so, your microphone is getting very staticky whenever you talk.
Oh, is it really? Let me back up.
I don't know if you're too close to it or what, but
How about now?
worse even. That's weird.
Go closer.
How about now?
I'm still hearing it, but it's fine. We'll live with it. Hey, hopefully it doesn't come through in the recording. That's all.
Okay.
So sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see. But
Sounds clear on my end, just in case. I don't know.
all right, that might be a good sign then. So
Okay. But no, I know the area a little bit. I've got some very close friends out in that area. Of course, they love to call themselves massholes, but
yep.
but yeah, they're in that area, and I know it a little bit. But yeah, I have been to Boston, or at least in that area, quite a bit in the last couple of years, and like I said, I kind of had an idea. I thought where you were, but
Yeah.
nonetheless.
All right, we're definitely talking about that. The show's over a little bit. So I got to ask, because being that you lived in Texas,
No,
what do
Arizona.
you Arizona?
Well, you were in Texas for a
Yeah, I
little bit.
was. Yeah, for a little. I was stationed there. Yeah,
Yeah,
for a
so
little bit.
military.
Out-
Yeah.
I was gonna. Okay, well, same area basically, in what I'm talking about. What do you think of Dogman?
Dogman. So, so we covered the Michigan Dogman for a bit. So again, my two-face. So one part of me wants to believe that if you believe in cryptid, then that would probably be something that would be accurate. There would be a possibility of a beast like that. However, I know there's a lot of rumor mill that the military is creating these super soldiers and they got away from them.
Wolverine.
Well, yeah, Wolverine. And then I've also heard that they're interdimensional travelers. But as far as the Dogman itself, to me, my personal opinion is that would probably be more of an interdimensional traveler. I've spent, if you could see around this room, I've got no shortage of military stuff sitting around here. I've got 12 and a half years of military service. We're just not that smart. And we could not do that well enough and not have it be completely bastardized and be stupid. We're just not capable of something like that. Maybe someday they will be. I don't know. But we can't even, in a military, we're not even able to get from point A to point B without a billion rumors spilling out of people's pockets. Whether they carry a high security clearance or not, sometimes people just talk.
Like Roswell.
Yeah, that's it. So I guess personally, I don't subscribe to that particular theory. However, I do know a lot of people do, and there is some legitimacy to it. I know a lot of them are spotted around military installations, but I guess for me, it'd just be more interdimensional travel.
Yeah, I don't
Huh.
know. I don't know that I agree with you.
That's okay.
Well,
Not- I
I just want to say first because the static is getting worse, but I changed my speaker to my computer instead of my headphones, and it's still there. So I know it's definitely not my headphones at this point. That was my original theory, but I don't know. It's freaking weird. Like as soon as you guys start talking, it's just like, that's.
That's all.
Let me mute mine.
I was gonna say maybe unplug it real fast and plug it back in.
Can you hear it from me?
Very static when both of you talk.
So what about this?
Same.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's. I mean, the government doesn't want us talking. Goddamn. But all right, well, put it this way. So you're basically saying, are you saying that you think dogmen were created by the government?
No, I'm saying I don't believe they were created by the government.
Oh, okay. Well, one, that's never a theory I even had, is that they were created by the government. Because put it this way, you asked me yesterday what one of my favorite episodes have been, and I didn't bring up this one because I kind of had a feeling I'd need it tonight. So my fourth or fifth episode was with a writer, a screenplay writer, a Christopher Soucy. He has a voice for storytelling, I'll tell you that. But he was also a military man, and he told a lot of great stories about seeing the devil. But one of his fellow comrades in the military, when they were in Egypt, saw a statue of Anubis. And he started freaking the fuck out, saying, "What is that?" And they explained who Anubis was to the Egyptians. And he's like, "I saw that same exact creature in my backyard twice when I grew up in New Orleans." So that right there, not even knowing this fucking guy, but hearing his story about freaking out and about his friend freaking out over a statue. And just, I mean, I told you last night, I talked to people from the NADP. I mean, there is more sightings of dogmen across the United States that, not United States alone, I'm not going into the world here because there are worldwide sightings, but if you look at the map the NADP has of sightings in the U.S. that are reported, and that word right there, reported, but even if 85-90% of those are fucking made up stories by people who just want attention,
Yeah.
that's still a lot of fucking dots on that map.
Yeah, that's
So,
I didn't.
and I mean-
I didn't realize that.
and I advise everybody, and I used to advise people this every fucking episode almost, but I advise everybody, because I haven't said it in a while, go to the NADP's website, North American Dogmen Patrol, I think it is, but look at their map. Oh my God. I mean, and you said you talked about the Michigan Dogman, which, I mean, the Michigan Dogman is one thing. Have you looked into either A, the Beast of Bray Road, or B, the Beast of the Lamb Between the Lakes?
So Beast of Bray Road is something we're teeing up at some point.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of associated with that, but yeah, the Michigan Dogman's really the only one that we kind of got into.
Yeah.
And the only reason we said the government thing is because there was a sighting by this truck driver, and it basically, you know, up on the side, whatever. But he said he was visited in the police department by these guys in suits, and basically told him not to speak about it anymore, and that because he shot it and thought he killed it, and they basically told him, "Do not talk about this. You destroyed our asset," is the way they put it, and that's what got me thinking about. That's an interesting term. destroyed our assets. And so then we got into the whole discussion about Wolverine, creating a super soldier. I don't know that I completely believe that, but
The
it's
only
an
reason
interesting theory.
The only reason I give it some credence is because that is 100% military jargon is called this.
An asset.
A weapon in military terms would be considered an asset. So that's the only reason why I said, okay, that is something that has some validity to it.
Well, I mean, if you haven't looked into the Beast of the Lamb Between the Lakes, because the Lamb Between the Lakes is up in Wisconsin, same as Bray Road, and the Lamb Between the Lakes is an island in Wisconsin that's literally in between two lakes, and you can drive up there. And from what I've been told by the guy from the NADP that I actually interviewed, you drive through the first part, you see roadkill, you see wild animals, birds, squirrels, all that good stuff. You get to the second half of the island, it's like being in Silent fucking Hill. You don't see shit. There's not even roadkill. There's nothing. And you feel like you're being watched everywhere on that second half of the island. You feel like you're being watched by something. I mean, I've even, on Global Strangers, when we did Dogmen, I even read stories of people who were in the woods in this part of the United States, and some of them are even about being chased by dogmen. And there's no way they could be human because they were nothing about them matched what human descriptions would be. The speed, the agility, the strength, nothing. And I mean, I've even heard there are two different types of dogmen. One that's just trying to survive, basically, and is just not really caring about humans. And then there's one that's a little more territorial and a little more aggressive, just like Bigfoots. So, I mean, I have to believe in dogmen because the Beast of Lamb Between the Lakes, there literally was a murder scene so bad up there in a cabin that they initially thought serial killer maybe, but why would a serial killer throw the clawed apart body of a 8-year-old girl up into a tree?
Yeah, we need to look at that because I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the greatest thing about paranormal is that you hear all these different things and just word of mouth, and you can go down a lot of different avenues. So just because I don't necessarily subscribe to the Michigan Dogman being military, that doesn't necessarily mean that the two things can't be right at the same time. You know, there could be something else that would be, I don't know. But like I said, if you don't maintain some validity when you're researching the paranormal, then you'll drive yourself freaking crazy.
Well, I mean, there are reasons I find it hard to believe in the Loveland Frogman, but so
Yeah.
I get made fun for that one all the fucking time. But I mean, dogmen just, I feel like they're an ancient, older species like Bigfoot, and they just, I mean, Native Americans tell of meeting Bigfoots. They're tribes of hairy men they traded with, or tribes of hairy men that came down from the mountain and stole their women, or stole their children, or stole their kids to eat. But you also hear some less, but some stories of dogmen from Native Americans. I mean, so
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I don't know. I think they're definitely in the same category.
Two-Face.
Yep.
I mean, you can't hear things in the paranormal and not be a skeptic at times because you have.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I will always approach everything paranormal, even with our show, and any of our listeners know that. I first come from the skeptic's point of view until I'm somewhat told otherwise. There are only about maybe 2 or 3 things that I believe 100%. One, I believe in ghosts. 2, I believe in UFO and ufology. Beyond that, well, no, correction. I also believe that cryptids are something that we have to be aware of because, like I mentioned in our show last night, it is realistically, for the most part, scientifically, I should say, the only facet of paranormal that has ever actually been proven. So, you know, that's where you tell yourself that if you don't at least embrace some idea about cryptozoology, and cryptids, that you know that you're gonna run yourself crazy because they have proven it. You know, whether or not there's a dog man or not, I don't know. I haven't seen one yet. But then again, I wouldn't have a paranormal show if I believed in only the things that I saw. But I also know that that there are a lot of strange things out there.
There are a lot more than you ever think going into this.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
So much.
yeah, I mean, there are so many different topics we can touch on right now, but we are getting close to the.
Yep.
I mean, I go for an hour and a half. Sometimes I don't give a shit, but I have 45-minute episodes to make up for it, so my listeners are used to the back and forth. But let's end it out by going on this one topic. It's as I said last night, it's my fucking favorite topic in the world. The idea of living dinosaurs. Whether it's Macaulay Mbembe, Thunderbirds, or a couple other cases we may talk about. But I want to hear what you guys think first before I go on my spiel.
Living dinosaurs. Well,
The only one that I really think is possible is the Thunderbird or the flying ones, because it'd be so much easier to hide. The others, I'm not there yet. That's where I'm at.
so in Tombstone, Arizona, there is a very well documented Thunderbird, for lack of better words, and I know that is something that my culture and a lot of people that live around that area believe pretty well, because there's been sightings of it. Maybe not as much recently, but especially when I was growing up. We would drive from Douglas, Arizona to Tucson, Arizona, and you have to go through that corridor all the way through Bisbee and Tombstone. And let me tell you something, if you wanted to be a Thunderbird and you wanted to hide, I cannot think of anywhere else you would be in, because there's a lot of empty space out there, and people see these things. So I believe that there's, just like every other cryptid out there, there's got to be something out there flying around these people are seeing. Whether or not it is a Thunderbird or not, I don't know. I'd like to think there is, because a lot of people have said what this thing looks like, and if that is true, then yeah, it's something that does exist. So that's kind of my particular stance on it. Does it exist? Yes, something does out there.
With the exception of one running lot mass.
Yeah.
I think it's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Well,
That's always been my theory. And I don't think that I can ever explain it. Just, I want to believe in it so bad that I'm just going to go, no, that's what it is.
For sure.
Well, let me get my scientist hat on here. All right, I'll start with Thunderbirds, since that was the main topic of discussion here. Thunderbirds are fucking pterodactyls. Ain't no one gonna tell me different. And there's a story on Monsters and Mysteries Among Us. I mean, Monsters and Mysteries in America. Fucking combining a TV show and a podcast here. But Monsters and Mysteries in America, there was a segment about Thunderbirds, and it was about, I'm not sure if it was Texas or Arizona, or it was or New Mexico. It was one of those southwestern states. But there literally was a story about a child being picked up by a large bird-like creature. And of course, all the fathers ran in the house and got their guns, because it's the Southwest. And they shot at this thing constantly, and eventually it dropped the child a few yards down and flew off. But Thunderbirds could very well be pterodactyls, because do you think they'd be easy to find? No, they wouldn't. Because where do creatures like that live? In caves. And what do caves play into? But the hollow earth theory. But
By the way, that was Tombstone. That story.
Oh, really?
That was Tombstone.
Oh, that makes sense.
all right. Well, and I mean, if you guys haven't dug into Macaulay Mbembe yet from Africa, you really should, because it'd be one episode probably at most, but it's an interesting story. Because
I mean, I don't know that.
The fact that the natives there have reported seeing it for generations, and when they were literally given, they've seen it, and they literally were given a book by British people of different animals that they know exist. And they went through them all, and each picture they pointed at that they thought it could be, they said, nope, that's not it. And then they happened to get to a dinosaur section of the book, I guess, and they saw a brontosaurus or a similar creature. And they were like, that's it. So, I mean, and where else would giant living dinosaurs be able to still live and possibly procreate besides in the African jungle, where there is still a lot of unexplored territory, or two, in South America, in Peru, where there is a tribe of natives who worship velociraptor-like creatures that live in the woods around them.
That'd be terrifying. No velociraptors.
Now, as far as the Peruvian claim goes, there are people that have hypothesized, because I actually just released an episode not long ago where one of my guests, who was her father and her husband were in the military. One of her husbands, her current husband. She had like 6 husbands, but her current husband was in the military, and her father was too. And her father told her stories about velociraptor extraterrestrials, or velociraptor-looking extraterrestrials, that fought in World War II with both sides of the war.
Jesus.
And she literally told about her father was in the Navy, and she literally told about a battle on a ship with these creatures. If you haven't checked it out, I suggest you check out that episode, because you literally will hear me in the middle of the episode going silent for like fucking 2 minutes and just being like,
what do you say to that? What to say to that?
Jesus.
I literally went silent for 2 minutes, and I was like, no fucking way. Are you serious? I'm like, this could be groundbreaking. Are you serious? Like, this could put my podcast on the map. It didn't, but it's fucking good. But
That's wild.
I gotta start. I gotta fucking clip that episode and fucking get more of it. But I mean, just the fact that she brought that up, and my theory about the Peruvian, I mean, people have said like it's extraterrestrials, but I'm like, I don't know. It's South America. There's a lot of jungle there. Who the fuck knows what's in that jungle? The Amazon's not fully explored by any fucking means. It's almost unexplored as much as the ocean. So
Yeah. When the local, like the natives to the local place, like have centuries of this passed down. I've seen things. I'm more likely them than I am.
Yeah.
Just anybody walking outside and seeing something.
I got the history.
Well, they live in, so when I run into it, we are in our house all the time. So,
And I mean, supposedly, if you go to that part of Peru and you meet that tribe, they have carvings that have been there for generations of these creatures on the mountains around them, rocks around them, wherever the fuck it is. Like they believe in this fully, and they worship these creatures because they're scared of them. So I think they even leave food out for them and stuff just so they don't get eaten themselves. Because I mean, I would be worried about getting eaten too if it's a fucking velociraptor. So
yeah, that'd be terrifying. I wouldn't deal with that. No.
I mean, I'd be sitting there in the fucking jungle like, no blue, back blue.
Exactly. Where's Chris Pratt?
Well, God, we might have to do part 2 because there are so many fucking things we didn't even touch on. So we might have to do part 2. It might maybe. I mean, I'm booking out till fucking February at this point, so we can get it going into next year. It's my schedule is so fucking full. I think the one guest that I have like 20 something upcoming interviews just off that fucking site, so it's insane. But that site pays me to people on though, so I like that site. But I can hook you up with that site if you want to. But why don't you tell my audience where they can find your podcast, even though I will be sharing out the episode I was on, of course. But where can they find your podcast? Where can they find you guys? Just promote yourself to the fucking fullest.
Sure. Thank you. So For starters, our podcast is literally an audio form. I think anywhere you can stick a podcast these days. I think we're on everyone. I know we're on. Obviously, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on. I know iHeartRadio. All the main ones that we're into. Basically anywhere you can get podcasts. We do have a YouTube channel too, Generation X Paranormal. We've really just kind of started adapting the videos. So we don't always do every episode for the most part. This last season we've been doing more of that. We do have a Facebook page. I'll let you see.
Paranormal podcast.
Podcast, right. We do have a page, our website, paranormal.com. And if you guys have stories that you want to talk about, you can reach us at info@paranormal.com. Miss it all?
Score one for the hubby.
Right.
Well, to all my listeners, there's an outro, but I'm not going to need this fucking episode because I'll say it because I'm in a good mood tonight. So, you know you can find me personally on Facebook as the unapologetic, uncensored, and untamed Podcast Collective Facebook group. You can find me on XXBaby and the Gram as that Juggalo Bastard. You can find me on TikTok as that Juggalo Bastard Podcast. A lot of funny fucking clips being uploaded there right now, I'll tell you what. And yeah, that's my Hank Hill for y'all. But you can also find me on YouTube as Paranormal if you want to see all my old interviews. Or if you want to watch me streaming live and comment along, go to Blind Knowledge Network. Because all knowledge was blind until people admit the dogmen are fucking real. And of course, you can also find me streaming live on Parapost Network, and both Parapost and Blind Knowledge are always looking for more podcasts to join them. And if you want to, hit me up or I'll get you the right people. But I want to thank Logan and Nicole for coming on this episode because this has been a fun fucking conversation. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping this. Oh, my pleasure. And we're definitely going to do this again. And I really hope this fucking audio issue didn't come out in the fucking recording. We'll see. Because, oh my God, if it did.
It's good. I think we're fine.
Yeah, I hope so. Because if it did, I don't know what the fuck I'll do. I'll definitely go listen to the replay video on Facebook tonight to see if it actually came through or not like that. But
Sounds good.
But until next time, folks, remember, the world's not normal. Never will be. Stop getting your hopes up. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
And sleep tight and don't let the fucking shackle bite.